Okay, well, welcome, Kimball Wilson. Kimball is a grocery buyer at Harmons, which is a retailer in Utah. And Kimball, we are so excited to have you on today. You are my first guest. We are starting a whole series of interviewing buyers and industry experts and other brand owners or founders. And we're just really excited to have you on today and to talk about what you do. And I have to say, I'm going to get to your bio in a second, but I actually want to start with where, for me, this little love affair with you started. And it was on LinkedIn. And the first post that I saw from you, I'm going to read this. You wrote a post, this is probably about a month ago, and you addressed it to CPG sales professionals. And you said, does your deck outline the flow of your sales calls with buyers? My advice, ditch the deck. Tell the story of your brand and tell your story. As a buyer, I will connect more with a human connection than an attribute checklist with a bunch of green checks in your column and red X's in your competitor's column. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. 10 minutes before our call, your competition showed me their deck and they had all the green check boxes and you had all the red check X marks. Let's use our time on sales calls to connect on a human level and see if our visions align. You can email me the deck and I will look at it at my leisure instead of during our time on a call. It's so good. It's so good. This is what we preach to our clients in our consulting clients is like, be a human being first, put yourself out there front and center, tell the story of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So tell me about that post. Like what inspired that post?
That's actually something that's been in my head for almost 2 years. It's just been in there, and I didn't really feel confident or have the, feel like I had the voice to speak that. And then just through a few other small posts on LinkedIn, I finally kind of just said, I'm just going to put it out there. And obviously it resonated with a lot of people, but I think the thought behind it is, I mean, as this is speaking just for me as a buyer and as a person, I would rather connect with people than a deck, for example. And so, I get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Everything. We see brands that are amazing. We see brands that need some work. We meet with brokers that are amazing. We meet with brokers that just go through the motions. And in my experience, if your deck is your outline for the whole meeting and all we're doing is flipping page by page or slide by slide, we're wasting our time. I mean, because that's something I can do in 5 minutes on my own. So personally, I would rather get to know you as a broker. And a lot of brokers think, well, I'm here to pitch this brand. Why do you want to get to know me? I need to know if there's going to be a partnership there. I need to know if when I want to do a promotion to highlight that brand you represent, if I can reach out and actually get a response. So if we connect on that human level, I know everything I need to know about, okay, this is a brand that I can go after that has the right support through a broker, or if it's an in-house sales team. Typically those in-house sales team have a lot more passion. They're typically, real outgoing and you get to know them. So it's usually the broker community where I kind of say, all right, let's ditch the deck. Let's move beyond that. Let's talk as humans and see if we can work together and both succeed. Because that's the goal at the end of the day is if I bring your product in, I want it to fly off the shelf. And that's what you want as well. So we'll get to know that better, I think, just by having a real conversation and getting to know each other.
I love that. So when you say like have a real conversation, what kind of conversation do you want to have, Kimball? Like if a brand comes in, they're like, okay, I have my deck, but I'm not going to just read this to you. Like, you also want it to be, an impactful meeting that still like is talking about business. So what kind of conversation do you want to have?
Definitely. I'm not looking for everyone's life story. Like eventually we might get there, we might become best friends over time. Who knows?
Right.
A lot of the industry professionals that I've met are dear friends of mine. And so the point I think is more, I want to know your why. I want to know the purpose. What drives you? What motivates you to succeed? And is that going to translate into our business relationship? And I think with the consumers that are coming up right now, Gen Z and millennials, they are looking for purpose-driven brands So brands really have to have a really clear why. And I think those that represent brands have to have a really clear why as to why they are selling that brand. If it's just to make a buck, then sorry, that's not enough anymore. You have to have some of that passion. And I get it. In the broker community, you might represent 30 lines or more, and you
Right.
may not resonate with all of them, but at least try to find something about that brand that resonates with you as an individual that can become your why as to why you want that brand to be on shelf and to succeed beyond the commission or beyond just the money. I think that's what I'm looking for as a, as a buyer.
I love how you're framing this up for both like someone coming in from the brand or a brand founder or someone coming in from a broker and what this looks like. And what I'm hearing you say is that while the energy and the communication, the conversation might be a little bit different, right? When you're talking with a broker versus when you're talking with a employee or direct person from the brand. Really what you're looking for is, are you able to partner? Are you willing to partner? Will you communicate and get me what I need when I need it? And like, what do you care about? Why do you care about this brand? Why, whether it's your brand or you're representing it, like what really matters to you and why? I love that so much. So you said something to me a little earlier about how you and one of your colleagues, Corey Jensen, is that his name, right? Yeah. So how you guys are doing it a little bit differently and how you really kind of deliberately took this approach, during COVID of like, okay, we're going to put ourselves out there. So talk to me a little bit about that piece of it and how you guys are starting to use social and kind of the evolution of that.
Yeah, I mean, it started off because, well, Corey had just started in his role as a buyer in late last year, late December, early January. And we had this opportunity to go to San Francisco for Fancy Food Show in January. And the connections we made there were amazing. And we realized, together that how important networking is, just because we met with some founders and some high level sales teams within a few brands, and just those connections have been really powerful for us as buyers and in promoting those brands. But then everything instantly kind of shut down after that. And we had planned, I think there were 10 or 12 other trade shows we were planning on going to this year. And so obviously the first part of the year was procurement. We were just diving in to trying to get food on the shelf. We were doing everything we could to get truckloads of product when possible. And that was like our focus for about 4 months after that point and beyond. And then kind of things started normalizing in the supply chain, and we started realizing, okay, now's an opportunity to start meeting back up with brands. And we kept hearing that a lot of retailers were still not seeing new items and not doing resets. Well, we got right back into it at Harmons. And I've taken as many new items this year as I have in years past. In fact, maybe a few more. But to answer your question is at that point, once things kind of calmed down with just focusing on supply chain, we realized like we can still make those valuable connections. We had made valuable connections on LinkedIn without posting anything, just kind of reaching out. And so then we just decided to, use that as a tool, and we kind of started using it as just a daily trade show. So anytime we have posted, we're meeting with new founders, new sales teams, new brokers every single day. And this isn't something that everyone's going to open themselves up to. And it's been amazing. I encourage it. Absolutely. Yeah. And fantastic. But yeah, it was the floodgates. We opened them, and our inbox in LinkedIn blew up, and we started taking calls that we otherwise wouldn't have. And maybe they didn't always line up with our categories that we manage, but we were open about that. And through that, we have made some of the best, networking connections and friends, and we found some of the most amazing brands. And it feels like we're we're seeing brands quicker now than we did before if we were just waiting for the trade shows or waiting for them to be presented during a category review. So for us, it's been a game changer. And I feel like we're ahead of the curve on seeing the trendy and the cool brands before before they would have likely hit Utah. They'll usually go East Coast, West Coast, and then kind of the middle. And now I feel like we're just right there. We're seeing stuff as quick as the West Coast is seeing it. And it gives us an opportunity to, jump on some of these trends a little bit quicker. And it's been a blast. It's been real fun.
Why is it important to you to do business in this way, to look for these new outlets, to get ahead of trends? Why is that important to you?
Well, for us as a brand at Harmons, we're 19 stores in Utah, and we want to be first to market.
Mhm.
We're known as higher end, gourmet, foodie focused, and but we're foodies ourselves, and so we're always exploring what's out there, and we're always looking for foods that we want to eat. So when we find them, we don't want to wait around for them to show up to Utah. We want to bring them in because we want to consume them ourselves, but also we know it'll resonate with our customers. They know that they can rely on Harmons to either be on trend or ahead of trend. And
Mhm.
so that's our focus. We want to see these brands as soon as possible. And like I said, it opens the floodgates and it puts more work on our desk, but it's something that we're willing to do and something that we're seeking right now.
I love it. So it's worth it to you. Opening the floodgates and having that additional workload is worth it to you because you're getting ahead of these trends. You're meeting with founders. You're having interesting conversation. You're able to support your shoppers by taking advantage of that and bringing in some of these brands, right?
Yeah, all of that.
I love that. Um, I'm curious. I'm wondering if this isn't the opportunity for other retailers and for the industry in general to think about how we do business and what it looks like. And I'm wondering just if you have any thoughts on that. Like, do you think that this will shape the way you do business in the future, or is this a temporary thing for you?
I think for myself, and I can speak for Corey too, this is how we're doing business for the future. I mean, I think it's an evolution as, social media grows and the way we connect and interact as human beings right now, as it evolves, we have to evolve. We can't really rely on the way things have always been. And it's just kind of funny. My first LinkedIn post, I actually posted it the day after I watched The Social Dilemma. committed to deleting all I committed to deleting all of my social media. I don't use very often anyways. I'm kind of very shy actually when it comes to social media, but for me, I think where I have the most confident voice is in the world I live in at work. I enjoy what I do, and I feel like if there's some insight that I can offer that might resonate, that's the place. So I was getting ready to delete all my social media, and I just put a kind of playful post about gaining 10 pounds during ice cream category review. And I was blown away. It resonated. So I said, you know what, maybe I'll lean into that. I can, get rid of all my other social media for the time being, but I'll lean into that. And it's been fun. So I definitely see it being the way of the future. And I know as brands present, they're always talking about digital and social. The brands know that they need to change their promotional strategies. They're evolving their marketing strategies, and it's so much more social and digital driven. I don't see why that doesn't apply to us as buyers and category managers, and also brokers and salespeople. So I think that it's just the way of the future.
I love that. How for brands that are, emerging that you might bring in as a new brand, what do you say to them when they're talking about generating new trial and new brand awareness as a new brand or a new product in your stores, especially, during COVID and not being able to demo? Like, what else can they do? What would you say to them?
I think your messaging just has to be very clear. And that's why I go back to the purpose driven and the why. You have to be really clear on your why, and you have to be able to communicate that. To drive trial, you have to be able to tell your story without having someone right there in front of the customer telling that story while they feed them a sample. And so I think it's all about messaging. we before we started, we talked about Midday Squares.
Yeah.
That's a brand that I love the team out there. We're great friends with them.
Yeah.
And Jake, and their messaging is clear. They do a fantastic job of telling their story. And I think brands have to do that. There's excitement. Anytime they make a post, I get excited and I want to listen to it. If it's, or watch it. If it's a video, I'm going to read it. If it's text, and they're just doing a fantastic job about telling their story. But back to kind of driving trial, my strategy as a buyer, it may not resonate with other buyers and other retailers. Everyone's strategy is slightly different, but for us right now and my categories, what's working for me is to be able to just hone in on those brands that I resonate with, and that I feel tell their story in a clear way, and then I just kind of promote them like crazy.
I love it. I love it.
Regardless of their promotional plan.
Yeah. When a new brand approaches you, what's the best way to get your attention? If they're like sending you a cold email or a direct message, like how do they kind of stand apart in that initial reach out?
Be authentic. Just be real. Like,
yeah,
I'm not a big fan of the just cold sales pitch. It's
yeah,
kind of like a just delete it moment.
Yep.
But if you're going to do the cold sales pitch, just catch my attention. That have something in that subject line that's going to entice me to open it, and it can be off the wall. I don't care. It can just be unique. And then, but better than that, if it is just a cold email or a cold call, just try to engage with me as a buyer before you get into the sales pitch. Try to find out where we might have some common ground. Find out where our visions might align, and that's the challenge. That is the hard part. And I don't have a ton of advice on that. I'm not a sales expert, but I know what works for me. And it's usually when someone's authentic. And for me, if they're persistent, because sometimes it takes a few emails to break through, but then once we do and we're able to have that conversation where it's authentic and it's just two real people talking, then it's like, all right, give me the pitch. Let's do this. And that's when you pull out the deck. And you don't let it guide the meeting, but it's there to supplement. And so that's kind of what works for me.
I love it. What categories do you buy? What do you manage, Kimball?
So right now I'm over all of frozen. I do seasonal candy, and then I do bulk foods, and we have a fresh pack program where we tub bulk products into clamshells with our own label on it. So those are my categories right now.
Cool. What specific kind of subcategories, or what new brands or old brands that are maybe doing something different? Like what's kind of exciting to you right now within that?
I mean, I think this will transcend all categories right now, but Plantbased is on fire. And I think the most fun right now is just the innovation. There are so many amazing plant-based products coming out, both meat alternative and just like whole food healthy. A couple brands that come to mind for me right off the bat, a few Nugs. They're just fun, and their messaging is amazing. What got me on Nugs was actually their Instagram, the memes. They're just hilarious. I actually reached out to them because I stumbled upon their social media, and they're doing phenomenal for us. And their whole team is amazing. Their founder, Ben Pasternak, is amazing. And then there's a new brand that's just hitting shelves this month for us. It's Daring. Ross is the founder of that. Just another brand. And as far as meat alternatives go, it's just the innovation is amazing right now. That product, I actually had the Cajun flavor last night for dinner, and you would not know, you would have no idea that it wasn't real chicken. And but also their branding is spot on. So I have this kind of, I guess maybe it's a future post on LinkedIn, but there's something that's rattling through my brain is like the 3 P's. It's about people, product, and packaging. And by packaging, I mean branding. And so those are the 3 most important things to me. And so all these brands I'm mentioning, they have cool people. They're just awesome, real people you want to connect with. Their product is amazing. So it makes sense that it'll sell. But then you have to catch that consumer's eye, and that's the packaging, the branding. If you have those three things, you've got a winner. And I think in the old school, there'd be a couple other P's, price and promotion. I don't think those matter as much. If you have those first three, it's going to sell. If you tell your story, it's going to resonate with customers. Another brand in that same segment is Noble. It's like a lentil and bean burger. I'm obsessed with those. I can't get enough of them. They're delicious. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of fun innovation in the meatless category and plant-based category. I'm over ice cream, and so there's always innovation in ice cream, and there's always it's a real competitive space. I'd say it's like it's the cold case of frozen. It's dog eat dog. There's that presentation period is exhausting, and by the end of it, I can't eat another spoon of ice cream. I really can't, and I love ice cream. So, but there's been some amazing new brands come out in that space too. I'm a big fan of Oh My. They're another plant-based ice cream, and then Press Juicery has their frozen line. That's my favorite ice cream, whether it's plant-based or not. So there's just some really fun innovation right now in frozen. It's been a great, actually been a great year for frozen.
Good. I mean, frozen just in general is highly competitive. You've got a very set amount of space that you can work with, and those freezer cases can get like pretty packed. So you work cut out for you for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to go back to what you said about the 3 Ps, and I'm wondering if you can just elaborate just a bit more. I think that you kind of already have, but just elaborate a bit more on why the other 2 Ps, price and promotion, just might not be as important today.
I mean, just think of like the way things have shifted with like DTC, direct to consumer. People are going to pay $40 for a box of cereal right now to show up on their door. People aren't as price sensitive as they used to be. Now, obviously that can change. The economy can change, but I think the millennial and Gen Z, the consumer that's coming up, they want what they want, and they want it conveniently. And so I don't think price matters as much. Obviously, you still want to be competitive. If you're a brand coming to present, you want to, be within the realm of what the price should be. And then even promotions, we're so used to seeing these promotional calendars presented to us with, we do 16 weeks, we do 20 weeks for, 4 quarterly promotions, and that's all great. Keep doing that. But I don't think that needs to be the focus of your promotional plan. I do a lot of just random promotions where I'll have an ad block that I don't really have a good promotion for. There's a brand I like, I'll call them up and I'll just ask. I'll just say, hey, I know it's not part of the promotional period, but I want to do this. Sometimes I've got a little funding I can put against it, whatever. That's why I mean, like, we can, if it's a brand I believe in and want to go after, I'm going to promote it like crazy regardless. And obviously this year has afforded me that a little more than other years, because frozen has really benefited from the supply chain demands. I think when we had that run on food, frozen fruit category went crazy, and then all this every category just kind of it snowballed, and frozen actually I think acquired a lot of long-term consumers where they just didn't even shop frozen before. So we're still enjoying the benefit of that. And through that increased customer count in frozen transactions, we're just able to focus on the brands that we want to promote, rather than the ones that are offering promotions. And if it doesn't resonate with the ad I'm trying to write or the brands I'm really trying to highlight, I have that freedom right now where I can promote who I want to, and so that those second 2 Ps, they just don't matter as much, I don't think, as they used to.
Yeah, I think that's great. And what I heard you say is that, like, you still need to have an understanding of that. You still need to kind of fit within these, norms of doing business with a retailer, but you don't lead with that. This is not what we build the relationship or the foundation on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Obviously, you don't want to gouge people. You want to be fair. If you've got a great product, people understand quality too. If you've got a great quality product and it should be a certain price because you're using the finest ingredients, yeah, it should reflect that. But yeah, like you don't need to lead with that. At least not with me. could really care less. If I get excited about the brand, I really don't care how much it's going to cost, because I know I'm going to sell it, because you can just tell when you have that winner.
Yeah. Um, Talk to us a little bit about Harmons. Like, tell us who Harmons is, and just in general, like what your stores look like and what kind of the ethos of the company is.
Yeah, so Harmons is, it's a family owned and operated retailer that's been around since 1932. We have 19 stores, and our construction is going to start on our 20th store, I believe, in March of this year. And it's just a great customer focused, experience focused retailer. We've always kind of focused on the experience as a whole. And so as e-shopping increases and online shopping grows, we're comfortable. We know that we're still going to have customers that just want to come in for that experience. We've got several upscale locations that have an upstairs mezzanine with a cooking school. And so it really is an experience when you shop at Harmons. And like I said earlier, we're at Harmons, we are foodies. We love food. Food is what brings us together. It's, the time we spend with family and friends it's always centered around food. And so for us, it's obviously personal, and we take it personally. And so we want to offer the best to our guests and our customers, because that's what we want to offer to our friends and family. So yeah, just the whole brand and the whole company is just all about that amazing eating experience and enjoying life through food and family.
I love it. That's great. Do you guys, do you follow a category review calendar? It sounds like you do.
We have one. Oh man, my schematics director is always getting after me, because I have been known to do a lot of things out of review. But yeah, we do have a category review schedule, and one of my goals for 2021 is to follow it.
I love that. I think that's great. And do you guys, you order through distributors, or who are your primary distributor partnerships?
Yeah, so we do have our own distribution center, but the main focus on that is our fresh produce and floral, and then our in-house packaging of our Fresh Pack program that I manage. But outside of that, our main conventional distributor is Associated Food Stores, headquartered here in Utah. And then our main specialty distributor is UNFI out of Moreno Valley. And then we have a couple of DSD and some other local distributors that we work with.
Great. And if a new brand comes to you, a new natural brand or specialty brand, and they don't have UNFI slotted yet, can you support that? Can you help get UNFI to turn that on? Or like, what are your recommendations there?
Yeah, we are considered an anchor account, and so we can do that. And obviously we do that with brands we believe in and we think are going to hold their weight if we bring them on as the lone retailer to open up that warehouse, because obviously we want them to have enough turns to stay in that warehouse. But then there's also a handful of other retailers that we recommend they go after that pull from that same warehouse. But yeah, we have that ability. It's actually really nice that we can see a brand, and even if they're young and brand new, but if they've got the right product and the right people and they're excited and we know it's something we can jump on, then we can open that up for them.
Yeah, great. How important do you think innovation is, or having a product that isn't a Me Too product? If their packaging and their brand awareness is on point, the people are amazing, their messaging is super clear. Maybe their messaging is a little bit different, even though it might be sort of like a Me Too product. Like, how important do you think innovation is? If you have these other things in place.
I think innovation is important, but I think innovation for the sake of innovation it can be a pitfall. I think that your core needs to be amazing and you should iterate. And that's one thing I like about Nugs is they kind of treat it like it's software. There's Nugs 1.0, there's Nugs 2.0. As they iterate and they get their recipe better and they take the feedback of the customer, and they've taken feedback and added more salt or whatever it was. And I love that about a brand. So I think that brands should always focus on their core and make sure that their core is amazing. And if it needs to improve, if they need to change the recipe, that's where they're going to improve. And then at that point, I think looking towards innovation is always a good idea. Line extensions, just to have a line extension and take more shelf space, like I don't think that serves brands anymore. I think that's kind of the legacy brand kind of method. Just you want as much of that shelf share as possible. Now I think it's just, if it's not ready to like hit the market and go off like gangbusters, don't waste your time, because it doesn't benefit any of us to bring it in and then discontinue it the next cycle. So I do think innovation is important, but I always think, make sure that your base is solid first and then innovate.
Yeah, I think that's great. God, you said something that really kind of hit me. One of the things that we coach our clients on is to help them understand that if a buyer, if you are going to put in a brand, Kimball, you're taking something else out of your set to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so these brands need to understand, what are you bringing that's different in terms of, any of these things that we've already talked about. How are you really resonating? If it's just a trade up, if it's a 1-for-1, there's no benefit to you as the buyer to do that work.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm seeing right now. That's what's been so difficult about this ice cream category review, because I've seen so many brands that I like and so many brands that I think deserve a space on the shelf, but they're not that different from other things that I already have that are currently performing very well. And so you have to be able to stand out in a way where I have to have you. I have to have that item on my shelf. And it's just another, like, that's why, like, if there's a segment that is considered innovation, let's just go back to keto, the keto trend. If keto is the trend and now all of a sudden you're jumping on that, you see an opportunity, it doesn't take long for that segment to be saturated. And then I'm seeing 10, 12, 15 brands presenting the same thing when the very first brand that I took off is killing it. And that's when I just have to start saying no, even though I might resonate with you and the brand and the product. So that is one of the more difficult things. And so that's something I think, entrepreneurs and founders and, they need to be mindful of is the segment you're getting in, are you going to be part of that saturation? Are you going to, water it down, or are you going to elevate it? Is what you're bringing to the table that much better than the rest that it doesn't matter where you can? So that's, I think, what brands need to think about and really lean into. If you're going to make my job so easy that it's a yes, I have to have it, then present it and dive in full force. But if you're fighting, if you go from retailer to retailer and you're hearing the same thing, that like, oh, I like your product, but there's just other brands in that space that are already doing really well, then I think that's when you need to do things a little different.
This whole interview is worth it just for like those last 2 minutes. I think that's just pure gold for these brands to understand. And you articulated it so clearly. Kimball, anything else that you want us to know about you, about the industry? Like, if you were just going to sit and have a conversation with a friend, if you and Corey are sitting there chatting, what makes you guys just go, ah?
You don't want to hear mine and Corey's conversation. We're just constantly talking about how high on these vibes we are. We're just so energized with the industry right now, and some of these brands and founders. It is so exciting to be in CPG and in the food business right now. Our conversations are largely about who we're excited about, who we're excited to connect with, who we want to consume ourselves, who we want to put on the shelf. And then, beyond that, who's spreading good vibes. There's some brands out there that are just spreading good vibes. And I think that's so important now more than ever. And so those are the things we're just kind of talking about. And I think those are things that are good to know. As a brand, what are you presenting to a buyer? Are you just another brand, or are you going to come in here and energize me? That's the exciting thing, is when we get energized by brands or salespeople and we're just like, what just happened? I feel like I just came up and but it's just the vibe. And so those are the things we're constantly talking about. And if you want to understand kind of how I tick, yeah, I'm an energy person. So bring that energy and let's have a real conversation.
So good. I want to read your bio, Kimball. I love this. And also I noticed, was this yesterday or the day, maybe yesterday on LinkedIn, you actually updated your about section as well?
Yeah, that was yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me like why you did that first, and then I'll read your bio.
You know, I think, like as I alluded to earlier, I'm quite shy on social media. And one of my more recent posts, I think right before Christmas or right after Christmas, I posted about the ego, and how I used to think that posting on social media was a sign of an inflated ego, but that was really just my ego talking.
Mm-hmm.
And so through my own realization that by letting my walls down and sharing my voice and my thoughts, it's just been healthy. And I've just realized that everyone has a story. And as I'm meeting and these brands, as I'm meeting founders, as I'm meeting and speaking with salespeople, I'm enjoying hearing their story, but I realize they're enjoying hearing my story. So it's been like, honestly, it's been a little bit of self-love for myself where I've accepted myself and realized, you know what, I've got a story too. And if people want to read it, they can. If they don't, oh well. So it's something I wanted to do for a while, and I just decided to update it and tell a little bit of my story. And I was looking at my profile on LinkedIn, and I realized that is the most boring about section I have ever read. I got to do better than that. And I just always think of that story that I shared where I found Jolly Ranchers and realized I can sell them at school. And that's where my love of this business started back when I was 7 years old. So that's why I decided to update it.
That's so great. I'm going to read this and then I want you to tell me that Jolly Rancher story. I want everyone to hear that. I think that's so cool. So Kimball has been in grocery retail for 10 years. He spent 8 of those years in operations at the store level, holding positions including dairy manager, grocery manager, and store manager. The last 2 years, he has been a grocery buyer and category manager. An anthropology major in college, that's interesting. An anthropology major in college, Kimball loves looking at food as culture. This is so good. He views grocery retail in the CPG industry as modern hunting and gathering. Every day is a field study in our food getting habits and behaviors. Kimball also views the social aspect of food as integral to our society. He enjoys networking with others in the food and CPG industry. In his free time, he loves to cook, read, learn, and spend time with family. Okay, tell us the Jolly Rancher story.
Okay, so I'm a mama's boy. And so I always hang out with my mom. She had a big sewing room. I'd lay at the foot of her sewing pedal and just listen to that sewing machine go. But anyway, she was going on a shopping trip to Costco, and I decided to tag along. And I just remember we normally avoided the candy section because we didn't have the money for it. But I happened to like make my way into that candy section up by the checkout, and I noticed this monster bag of Jolly Ranchers. And like, I don't remember if I even understood how like division worked, but I somehow figured out that they were 2 cents each. It was probably the signage that said 2 cents each. And I realized, wow, I could sell that easily at school for 5 cents. And I didn't understand margins. I didn't understand profit. I just knew I could spend 2 cents and I could make 3 cents. And so I explained that to my mom, and she loaned me the money to buy that bag. And from that bag, I ended up becoming the candy man at school. Every morning I'd, fill my backpack up with all kinds of different candies, and I'd go to school and I'd come home with a bunch of change, and just always kind of had money. I was just a little hustler, I guess. But yeah, so when I got back into when I got into retail, and I remember I was on the candy aisle as a grocery manager ordering, and it just hit me. I was like, I've come full circle. I'm the candy man again. And so I've always had that love for, selling food and CPG, and it just started when I was 7 years old.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. This is you feel very much in alignment to me, Kimball. Like you're doing something that matters to you. And I love that.
Yeah.
And you know, just like how you've talked about that makes a good brand, that's the foundation for a good brand. I think that is equally the foundation for a good buyer. You obviously care about what you're doing, and that means everything.
Yeah, I think you have to. Yeah.
For brands that want to work, that want to try to get placement at Harmons, how do they do that? Do you publish your review calendar? Is there a process that they go through? Is there a way to submit or request a meeting? Like logistically, what does that look like?
Yeah. So we have a review calendar that most of the all the regional brokers have, and then all of our distributor partners have. And so if it's a brand that's never obviously worked with Harmons before, they can reach out to either our distributor partner, UNFI, Associated Foods, to get that review calendar, or they can reach out to any of the brokers. Even at some of the nationwide brokers, they all have that calendar. And then you just speak with if you're working with a broker, that broker should have, our info on who manages what category, and then they just, submit like that. But for me and Corey right now, it's hit us up on LinkedIn and we'll tell you if it's the right, or we'll tell you when the category review is and whether we're the right buyer for it. And we can steer you in the right direction for the appropriate buyer that way as well.
I love that. Does Harmons leadership know that you guys are doing business this way, and how do they feel about it?
I think they know. I don't think they know how much. I think some of our leadership has seen a few of our posts, and from what I hear, they've enjoyed it. They have asked us during like business reviews, how are we still, generating such growth during this time when like others aren't even doing category reviews. And we've mentioned LinkedIn, and so they know that we're using it and we're active, and I just don't think they know the extent.
Yeah. Wonderful. Great. Anything else that you want us to know before we wrap up today, Kimball?
No, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been a lot of fun, and I thank you for it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really, I think that I am hopeful that you are the future of retail buyers. And I think there's a lot to learn from how you are thinking about business and how you're conducting business and where the future of this industry is going. So well done, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay.